Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody, let's give me a second, see if I can share my screen here. All right.
That's great.
Well, awesome. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Mackenzie, thank you for that introduction, and thank you for having us be a part of this webinar series you guys have hosted. So like she said, my name's Alejo Sierra, and I'm the outreach coordinator for the Texas Farm Service Agency. Our office is located in College Station. I'm actually remote, so I'm physically located in El Paso, Texas. But with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Like Mackenzie said, I'll be pretty lenient, pretty informal. So if you guys have a question, please just go ahead and unmute and ask that question. Or we could save questions for that, just whatever might be easier. So give me a second. Right. So today I'll be talking a little bit of overview. I'm going to turn off my camera here for a bit, but I'll turn it on here at the end. So can you also hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So like Mackenzie said, we'll be providing a little overview about the Farm Service Agency and its programs we have available. So the Farm Service Agency, or FSA, so we're part of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and we're under the Farm Production and Conservation FPAC mission area. So it's composed of Farm Service Agency, Risk Management Agency, Natural Resource Conservation Services, and the Business Center. All those four agencies compose the FPAC mission area. So FSA delivers farm programs, loans to help agriculture producers, partner organizations, provide fuel, food, and fiber. So the Farm Service Agency is administered through the Farm Bill. So we have federal programs that were authorized by the 2014 and 2018 Farm Bill. We're currently at the end of the 2018 Farm Bill. So we're in a one-year extension, so we're waiting on our new Farm Bill, and it should be coming out this year soon. So a little overview about Texas FSA. Here's our footprint. We currently have 174 service centers across Texas, and we do serve all 254 counties in Texas. Our state office is located in College Station, and we do have about 600 plus dedicated staff throughout the state, and that encompasses farm loan and farm programs. A little bit further, we got some websites for y'all to familiarize yourself with the FSA. Farmers.gov is a portal for all of FPAC. And then within Farmers.gov, we have the USDA Service Center locator, which will help you locate your service center in your county. And then furthermore, we have FSA Texas webpage, which is a little bit more information just about Texas FSA. So what does FSA offer? So FSA is divided into two sides of it. We got the farm program side, and then we got our farm loan side. Both of those compose FSA. Our farm program side does more commodity assistance. It also does disaster assistance, risk management tools, organic cost share programs, and we also administer the farm storage facility loans. Our farm loan side of it does ownership loans, operating loans, microloans, and loan guarantees. And I'll get into all of this a little bit later in the presentation. So getting started with USDA. So if you've never been into an FSA office before, we strongly advise you to get connected with your state beginning farmer coordinator. In this case, it happens to be myself. So if y'all have any questions, I'll provide my information at the end of the presentation. Y'all give me a call, shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to provide y'all with some resources that are available to y'all. So you also got a familiar side with USDA Service Center Locator, and that's through our farmers.gov website, and you can locate any service center throughout the country. So once you do locate your service center, you'll be able to visit one-on-one with Farm Service Agency and Natural Resource Conservation staff. NRCS is our sister agency. So FSA takes care more of the eligibility side of things, and NRCS does more of our technical side. They're our field experts. So if you get in contact with us, we'll probably send you over to NRCS, and they could send one of their engineers or one of their field staff out there to go out and walk the property with you and get some more information on your operation. So if you've never been to an FSA office, what do you bring? So of course, we need proof of entity, a driver license, social security number or card. And then if you have an entity, we'll need the IRS EIN number. We'll also ask you to bring a copy of recorded deed if you own land, the survey plat, rental or lease agreements. And then you do not have to own land to participate with FSA programs. As long as you have control of that property and you're leasing it, you'll be able to participate with us. Furthermore, if you have an entity, we'll ask for those entity documentation that can include articles of incorporation, trust or estate documents, partnership agreements. And the reason we ask for those is that we got to know who the members are of that entity. So if it's a corporation, we got to know who all the members are. And then most importantly, we also got to know who has signature authority to sign on behalf of that entity. So once you bring those documentations in, we will be able to register your farm or ranch in our FSA database. We'll be able to create a map for y'all, listing the farm or ranch boundaries, and we'll also be able to give you acreage for those fields. Once you do that, we'll provide you with a FAR number. A FAR number is needed to access key USDA programs. It also give you access to vote in the FSA County Committee elections, which I'll talk a little bit more later on in the presentation. And then you'll receive routine program notifications. So to participate with FSA, we do have eligibility requirements. One of them, which would be a farm operating plan, or which we refer to as the CCC 902. The farm operating plan, basically, it's either for an individual or an entity, and it'll let us know who provides the capital, land, and equipment for that operation. On the other side, it'll also let us know who provides the management and who provides the labor for that operation. In order to be eligible for some of our programs, we got to consider you're actively engaged. And to be considered actively engaged, we need this farm operating plan. And you would have to provide some sort of management, labor, land capital, or equipment. Furthermore, we also have the adjusted gross income certification, which we refer to as the CCC 941. We call it the AGI forms. The AGI is an annual certification, and it looks back at the 3 previous years from which you're applying for. Basically states if you're making more than 900,000 or less than 900,000. So if you're applying for the 2024 crop year, you would have to fill out one of these CCC 941 forms, certifying if you make more than 900,000 or less than 900,000. And we would be looking at, for the 2024 crop year, it would be looking at 22, 20, and 21 years. And then furthermore, you also have to be in compliance with the highly erodible land conservation and wetland conservation compliance. So FSA farm program. So I'll go ahead and stop here and ask if anybody has any questions.
Y'all can put any questions in the chat or also unmute yourself if you have questions.
Okay, we'll keep on going. So I'll talk a little bit more about our farm program side with FSA. So FSA farm program. So what kind of programs do we have? We mostly have disaster programs. And on top of that, we also have commodity support programs and price support programs. So I'll talk a little bit about our disaster programs. So we have the emergency assistance for livestock, honeybees, and farm-raised fish. It provides financial assistance to eligible producers for livestock, honeybee, and farm-raised fish losses, such as death, feed, grazing, and associated transportation costs. due to disease and certain adverse weather events or loss conditions. The program addresses losses not covered by other USDA disaster assistance program. The Livestock Forage Disaster Program provides compensation to eligible livestock producers who have suffered grazing losses on land that is native or improved pasture land with permanent vegetative cover or is planted specifically for grazing. The grazing losses must be due to a qualifying drought condition or fire on federally managed land during the normal grazing periods for the county. The Livestock Indemnity Program provides benefits to livestock owners and contract growers who experience livestock death in excess of normal mortality caused by specific adverse weather, disease, or animal attacks. And then we also have the non-insured crop disaster assistance program, which helps producers to manage risk through coverage for both crop losses and crop plantings that prevent due to natural disaster. The eligible or non-insured crop include agriculture commodities not covered by federal crop insurance. So it's basically crop insurance for commodities that RMA or your insurance, your crop insurance does not offer. To help you out, we have the farmers.gov protection/recovery, and which goes into further detail on all these programs. We also facilitate the farm storage facility loan, and that's to help provide assistance with storage facilities on y'all's farm. So if you guys need a silo, grain storage facilities, type of that, y'all could go to visit us. We could give you some more information. And then for organic producers, we provide the organic certification cost share program, and that's to reimburse partial costs on your certification. So crop acreage reporting. So it's important to come certify your crops. It doesn't matter what type of crop you guys have out there. You could file a crop acreage report by filling out an FSA 578 form. So basically, you'd come into the office, we'd provide you a map, and you could tell us what type of crop you have planted, number of acres, planting dates and planting patterns, producer shares, irrigation practices, and other information as required. So why is it important to certify your acreage? Basically gives you a history year by year on what has been planted on your piece of property. So I'll talk a little bit our farm loan program. So general eligibility requirements. So FSA loans are considered progression lending, intended to be temporary and help producers graduate to commercial credit. So for both our direct and guarantee, we must meet this eligibility requirements. So first, you be unable to obtain sufficient credit elsewhere, be a citizen or legal resident alien, possess legal capacity to incur the loan obligation, have acceptable credit history, be the owner, operator, or tenant operator of family farm, not be delinquent on federal debt, have managerial ability for the type of loan requested, not have caused the agency a loss by receiving debt forgiveness, and there's some exceptions to that, and not have been convicted of planting, cultivating, growing, producing, harvesting, or storing a controlled substance within the last 5 years. So for direct loans, so direct loan means FSA is actually providing you the money. So develop a realistic farm business plan that projects repayment ability for loan and meet general eligibility criteria. You also have to provide adequate collateral for the loan, not to exceed restrictions on years of eligibility. So for the direct loan, you must agree to take borrower training if required and graduate to private sector credit when available to do so. Have applicable education, training, or farm experience that provides reasonable prospects of success. So for farm ownership loans, must have participated in management or farm or ranch for at least 3 years. We could substitute those 3 years if we don't have all that experience. So if you have an agricultural degree, we might be able to substitute that for 1 year. If you have military experience, or if you have a mentor that's been helping you out. but we do need at least 3 years of experience with those exceptions. Farm operating loans. So we also offer farm operating loans, and they could be used to purchase equipment, livestock, production expenses, or refinance operating expenses. Farm operating loans could be paid from anywhere from 1 to 7 years, and the limit is 400,000. So for what determines that 1 or 7 year repayment period? So it depends on what that loan is being used for. So for equipment loans, we could usually drag that out to 7 years. If you're doing it to buy seed or fertilizer, we usually like those repaid within 1 to 2 years. Farm ownership loans. So we could use an ownership loan to purchase land. You could use it for capital improvements, for soil and water conservation, or loan closing and related expenses. So farm loans can be repaid up to 40 years, and the limit to the farm loan ownership is 600,000. Guarantee loans. So guarantee loans are loans that are made and serviced by agricultural lenders, farm credit, or local banks. Often used to help lender continue with customers who have experienced setbacks. To qualify for an FSA guarantee loan, an applicant must meet general eligibility requirements, being able to obtain the loan without a guarantee, and have a feasible plan and adequate collateral as determined by the lender. And for the FY20, for the fiscal year for 2024, the limit is $2,236,000. So we also offer assistance with down payment. So applicants must be a beginning farmer, veteran, or SDA farmer. SDA stands for socially disadvantaged. And you must provide a 5% down payment. So down payment loan funds may be used only to partially finance the purchase of a family farm. FSA can loan up to 45% of the lease of the purchase price or appraised value, or the max of $300,000. The balance of the purchase price not covered by the down payment loan and the loan applicant's down payment may be financed by a private lender, a cooperative, or the seller. So we also offer youth loans. So FSA Youth Loan Program makes a low interest loan to eligible youth to start or operate income producing agriculture related projects. So for these youth loans, you must be a part of an agriculture association. It's usually 4-H or FFA, and we offer up to a $5,000. So we also have our loan assistance tool, and USDA launched an online loan assistance tool on farmers.gov to provide loan customers with an interactive online step-by-step guide through the farm loan process. The loan assistance tool will help to ensure all loan applicants fully understand the application process and gather the correct documents before they begin the process. This will then help applicants, farmers, ranchers submit complete loan applications and reduce the number of incomplete, rejected, or withdrawn applications. So this is a new tool that USDA came out with, and it basically helps you determine which kind of loan would be best suited for yourself. So assistance for veterans. So a veteran farmer rancher is defined as a farmer or rancher who has served in the armed forces, as defined in 38 USC 101, and who has operated a farm or ranch for less than 10 years, or first obtained status of a veteran during the most recent 10-year period. In order to certify as a veteran, you would have to fill out the form CCC 860, which is a socially disadvantaged or veteran or beginning farmer rancher form. It's self-certified, and basically you would just notate there that you're a veteran and you've been farming for less than 10 years. I'll go ahead and stop here, see if anybody has any questions on farm loan side.
We did have a question in the chat. What's the years associated with being considered a beginning farmer?
Okay, so you must not be operated or farm, you must not farm or operate within the past 10 years. So there's not really any years associated to it. as long as you have not been operating or farming for 10 years.
Is that the last 10 years or 10 years total?
That's 10 years total.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Sierra,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. My name's Avan Guerra. I'm over here from the RGV, which is the southern part of Texas. I had a
Yes, sir.
question in regards to the direct farm loan ownership. I just I went through an experience a couple of years ago, and I've also heard a lot of people sort of get into a bind because the timeline for the loan officer to process your application. What is the acceptable timeline for one of those loan officers to give you a response in regards to your application? You guys, there's a lot of competition now with the real estate, and sometimes it needs to be a quicker turnaround than what a lot of us have been experiencing. So in regards to that and the policy that you all have within the FSA, what does that state as far as the timeline to get back with the applicant?
Okay, yes, sir. So we do try to do it as fast as possible because we do understand those other. The time crunch is crucial.
Yes, sir.
Right now, it's taken about 60 days to process a loan, and that's because we got to get all documentation
Okay.
in order to start that.
So within 60 days, they have to get, because I know the microloans I had read up, and I know it's a 60-day, within the guidelines of the policy, but I've never been able to get somebody to tell me, the timeline with the, for example, farm ownership loan, which is a little bit more, it's a lot more complex. So you're dealing with, getting appraisals and all this other stuff. But yeah, because sometimes I've had a couple of clients that have done a contract and put earnest money down, but that earnest money, and it only sometimes valid for 45 to 60 days. And what's happening a lot of times in some of these offices, that they're taking 6 months to a year to get back with you. So we're losing, there's certain sort of setting those people up to fail, because they're not following through and giving a expedited turnaround of the application. So that's sometimes that's a concern that I have, and I've had it for many years because I purchased some land through the program, and it took me 2 years to get to purchase. And luckily the seller was a good neighbor of ours, and he was patient enough, but that's not gonna occur very often. So I was just curious, to see what the parameters were for something like that. But that gives me a little bit more insight for for the future reference. So I appreciate you helping me out.
Yes, sir. Yeah, go ahead and send me an email, and I could get some more information from that.
Yes, sir. Already appreciate your help, and you're doing a good presentation.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other questions?
We also had one in the chat. Understanding how to certify as a veteran new farmer, what services are provided for veterans and socially disadvantaged farmers?
Okay. So we do have a list of programs cater to beginning farmers or ranchers, and I could go ahead and email y'all at the end of this, or I could email Mackenzie, and Mackenzie, if you don't mind sending that out to everybody in the presentation.
Sure. And I can also, I'm going to try to pull up the Beginning Farmer Rancher FSA website, and I will drop that in the chat as well.
Okay.
Also I had a question on lease agreements. I know a lot of our farmers may not have a written lease agreement. Do y'all have parameters around what has to be included in that lease agreement, or it just has to be something in writing that says they have permission to make decisions on that land, or what are y'all looking for?
Yeah, so right now with most of our programs, we do need a start and an end date, and we need the amount of acres that is being leased out. Okay. We just need to know that you have complete control of that property. So a lot of times we could accept a check for year to year. There's other ways around it because we don't actually have a lease documentation, but we do need a start date when that lease started and an end date and the amount of acres that is being leased.
Awesome, thank you. It's a common question we get. All right. I don't see any other questions. If y'all have any, though, you can feel free to leave them in the chat and we'll have time at the end too for some questions too.
So wanted to talk about FSA County Committee. So FSA is ran by our county committees. The county committee is selected by individuals to serve, or selected by individuals in the county, um, and they pretty much compose what's called a county committee. It's anywhere from 3 to 5 members, sometimes 6 members, and they're the ones that inform, or they're the ones that administer the program activity conducted by the county office. So they're a critical component of the day-to-day operations of FSA. The county committee is actually the one that hires a county executive director. They administer farm program activities conducted by the county office and inform state FSA committee of local administrative area conditions. And they make recommendations to the state committee on existing programs. So these LAAs are the areas where each representative is elected from. So usually a county will have either between 3 to 6 LAAs, and they're just areas where producers could go ahead and vote on who to elect to be a member of the county committee. So our county committee election timeline for 2024, we're starting nominations June 17th through August 1st. November 4th, ballots will be mailed out to eligible voters. December 2nd is the last day to return voted ballots to USDA Service Center. And then January 1st is when the newly elected county committee members will take office. Receipt for service. So when you visit one of our offices, you have the right to request a receipt for service. And basically in that receipt for service, it'll state when you went into the county office and what services were provided to you. So also we do offer our newsletters and bulletins. So a producer can sign up at farmers.gov for email communications, or a producer can text the state county name to FSA Now 372-669 for text alerts. So for example, for Brazos County, it would be TX Brazos. For Fort Bend, it would be TX Fort Bend. And you would text that to 372-669. So stay in touch. I've concluded my presentation for today. I'll be glad to answer any questions. I have provided my contact information and a few links for farmers.gov and fsa.usda.gov. So I'll be glad to answer any questions y'all might have.
I'll just ask a quick one while if anyone has wants to put any other questions in the chat. But what would be a benefit for utilizing USDA FSA for a farm loan instead of, say, a commercial lender?
So we're an assistance. So for farm loans is those that cannot get a loan through a commercial lender. So if you're denied through a commercial lender, you can come through FSA. We have more venues that might help you out.
Right. So is your lending rates typically better interest rates than commercial lenders?
Typically they are, I believe. Give me a sec, I'll look that up for you. So for June so as of June, so farm ownership is at 5.375 for direct. Our down payment is at 1.62 and our emergency loans at 3.75. So it typically are a little bit less than what commercial lenders provide.
Thank you. Is there anything that people have to provide showing that they cannot get credit elsewhere?
So yes, that's a question for our farm loans. but you do have to provide it. I mean, so not technically you don't have to provide us with anything. If you've been denied, we'll be able to assist you.
Okay. Awesome. Did anyone have any other questions? I'm going to check the chat real quick. You can also unmute yourself.
I had a question that I had somebody asked the other day, and I looked through your all's website. What is the minimum credit score? Because that was a question that I had somebody asked me, a client of mine, and I have no clue, I was just assuming it was like in the high 600s. I'm not too sure, but maybe Mr. Sierra, if you know.
I'll have to get back with you, Mr. Guerra,
Okay, sir.
on that. But yeah, I'll get you connected with one of our farm loan officers.
Yeah, alrighty. Yeah, and in my experience, if you go to the ag credit, man, they ask for stuff that most of us don't have, if you have a smaller operation, and it's very complex, and it's sort of like they don't want to give you the loan, they sort of make it to discourage you. So this is the way to go with the USDA, except for the timelines that they have are kind of, sometimes they set you up, to sort of not get the loan because of the timeline, but it's usually a personnel issue. Maybe they're understaffed, but in my experience, it pays off if you have the patience to wait and go through the USDA.
Can you touch a little bit too on just the kind of repayment of those? I know, like for traditional loans at a bank, it might be monthly, but I think FSA, whenever you get loans, they can kind of set your payments up to be when you would say harvest your crops or sell your calves or whatever that might be.
So like I said, it depends. So like for operating loans, our repayments anywhere from 1 to 7 years, and it just depends on what you're using the operating loan for. On our farm ownership side, we could set the repayments up to 40 years.
Awesome. Thank you. Did y'all have any other questions? I don't see any in the chat, but y'all can also unmute yourself if you have questions.
Like I said, if anybody does have any other questions outside this time period, y'all could feel free to email me or give me a call, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Awesome. And I will also share his contact information and those links in a follow-up email, as well as just a quick survey about today's webinar that really helps us out in being able to provide these types of trainings if we know if they were effective or not, or if you intend to use things that you learned today in your future operation. So I will send those out after the webinar ends, but I'll stay on for a few more minutes if you guys have any questions, and then you'll get an email from us with all of these links and resources, and also with the tool that you can see where to find your local service center, that he is linked here, so you can find your local FSA office. All right, I don't see any other questions, so thank you, Alejo. I can stay on, and if you're available to stay on, and just to make sure no one has any further questions, but thank you so much for joining us today and sharing this helpful information. I hope that everyone in attendance is able to learn something new and maybe take some of that information and apply it to how you can use that to improve your farms or ranches. So if y'all have any questions, you can also reach out to me. I will put my email in the chat as well. We do that really quickly. And then we also have a webinar next week. So if you signed up for this webinar, you have signed up for the whole series. So you can get notified each week of the webinars we have coming up for that week. And next week's, we will be looking at Work Vessels for Veterans, which is an organization that helps military veterans with tools and equipment and things that they might need to work. And so some of those things are farm and ranch related. So if you signed up for this webinar and are on here, you will have access to, it's the same link, we just join it every week. But next week's is that Work Vessels for Veterans. So if you know a veteran that you think might benefit from this information and how to apply for that grant or that assistance, feel free to share this with them, and I will include it in the email as well. But if you have any questions, I'll be on. Thank you all for joining us today, and hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Mackenzie. I'll stay on for any questions that y'all might have too as well.
Thank you.